Hi, it's Nicola at Forever Young Autobiographies and welcome. Today we're talking about life story interviews, how to set up an interview and family story interview tips. All of these come from the Your Family Story system, and at the end today I have some free sections for you to sign up for, so please hang about. And a little introduction if you're new to Forever Young Autobiographies, it's the place where we learn to write life stories for family and friends so that unique memories will live on. It'd be great if you could follow, subscribe and like the show. Now I've just come out of a busy holiday Christmas season, like I'm sure a lot of you have, and over that time there was lots of catch-ups with family and friends, whether that was barbecues, beach trips, other events, and there was a lot of memories that were shared. There was the old favourite memories or anecdotes, as well as some new ones, and some we thought we'd almost had forgotten. And if this is the same for you, perhaps it's spurred you on. You've got some momentum from all this storytelling and you've got a loved one in your family or your close circle whose life story you would like to record. And I'm putting it out there as a goal for you for this year to do that with a loved one. And the first step you need to do to go along this path is to set up an initial interview. Now, I've done lots of interviews as a daily print journalist over the years, including sort of holistic life interviews like we're talking about here. And I'm going to break it down for you into a few key steps to get this interview happening. The first one is you need to float this idea with your loved one. You might be thinking about it, but you've got to have the participation of two people for an interview. So you might be a little bit worried about doing this. It's a bit out of your comfort zone. But I suggest, look, next time you see them or next time you're talking to them, just float the idea. It doesn't need to be a long-winded explanation. It just needs to be sort of off the cuff. You could say, don't you think it's time we really sat down for an hour or so and recorded your life story? What do you think about that? Just something casual. And I would suggest an hour time frame for a first interview. You don't want to sort of bombard them with a big long-winded project at this point. You just want to get that initial interview. And yes, ideally you could do more in the future, but just set that first one is a really good idea to start out with. Now I can hear some people saying, oh yeah, I don't think my loved one's going to agree to this. They might be hesitant or they might flat out, have some full resistance there for whatever reason. And that's completely fine. That is to be expected almost. Some people say, oh, why do you want to know my story? Or I'm not important enough. Or perhaps there's something in their past that causes them some pain. Now, in this instance, don't give up on the project. Just come back to them respectfully, politely, and say, look, this is why I think it would be a really good idea, why I'd love to do it. If you're getting your kids or other generations involved, highlight why it would be great for them to be part of it. And of course, essentially, highlight why such an interview or a life story project is really important for your interviewee. And you might need to ask a couple of times, maybe even 3 times or more, but do it politely, respectfully. And I think if you really have hit a roadblock, stress to your interviewee or your loved one that they will be in control of the finished product or transcripts or whatever comes out of this interview. They're going to be the one that controls it. They're the ones who will oversee their story. So I think that's really important. There's some key important things to share with them if you come up a bit with some hesitation or some resistance. So okay, assuming we've got the agreement of our interviewee, the next thing to get this interview rolling is we need to agree on when and where. Where is this going to happen? Now you lock this in as soon as you can, and you may already have some suggestions or an idea of when and where this interview could be. But I think leave the ultimate decision for these points to your interviewee. And I say this because if it's usually in their home or somewhere they're familiar and comfortable with, you're going to get a better flow of interview, and of course you're going to have better memories come up because they're surrounded by it in their house with their photo albums, memorabilia. It's all close at hand. Now, you might be living a long way away and that's not possible, and this was the case when I interviewed my grandmother who was in her 90s. I just agreed to call her at a set time each week. And when you're setting up the time, you also want to make sure it's in sync with your interviewees' energy levels. It's a good time for them, whether that's during the day or during the week. In my grandmother's case, it was just before sort of mid-morning, before lunch, or just after lunch. So make a time and a place that suits your interviewee and their energy levels. So I hope that has just really inspired you to get going, to ring up that loved one and set an interview time. So to recap, what we need to do is we need to make that call, be prepared for any hesitation or any resistance, and then lock in the interview, the time, the place. And I really hope that you will give this a go. Overcome any fears or worries that you might have to do this project. This is the year. I want you to really give it a good red hot go. And I'm sure other people would love to see the finished product, those in your family and your friends or your loved ones' friends. Now, I have a whole article about this on my website, which is foreveryoungautobiographies.com/family stories. And if you head over there, I go into more depth, and there's lots of links to other articles that can help you on this process. And while you're at the website and while you're here, please let me know, have you got someone in mind, a loved one? Who is it? Who are you going to interview? I'm so curious to know. So please drop me a line and tell us who have you got planned. Now, the free gift I mentioned earlier was sections to the Your Family Story system, which is a system I came up to help other people record life stories for their loved ones. And I did this with my grandmother. We created a book. She wrote it, and I helped with all the interviews and the transcripts and putting it together so she can hold it in her hand. And I've got the first few sections to that, so you can get a really good start on the whole process. And you just sign up for that over at the website at foreveryoungautobiographies.com/family stories. There'll be just a quick form there. Fill it in with your name and your email, and it's all completely free. Now, I'll be back again really soon with a new topic, so please follow, subscribe and like the show. And until then, happy writing.